It's Friday, April 2nd, and today I want to talk about an organization that in my mind is way behind the times. Not only are they way behind the times, but they take advantage of the people that they're supposed to protect. And they do some terrible things while enriching themselves. I'm talking about the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA. And I'm talking about, I don't want to call it rampant discrimination against the female athletes. I'll just call it second-hand citizenship. They treat the female athletes like second-handers, like they're unimportant, when that's far from the truth. Female athletes are very important to the schools they attend, and very important to the communities that they represent. Yet in many schools, the facilities for female athletes are second-rate at best. And when you look at the pay scales for our national soccer team, the U.S. women's team, which is a world-class championship team, doesn't get paid anything near what the men's soccer team, which has produced awful results most of the time, gets paid. So there's a discrimination in my mind against female athletes. And I want to cite an example that has come to my attention, and it's rampant throughout the college ranks, and it deals with female gymnasts. Now, female gymnasts are probably one of the most superb group of athletes in the world. Their body control and the things that they are able to do is beyond my ken, as they say. So in any event, let me tell you what happened. In January, Nia Dennis, a woman of color, a student at UCLA, and a gymnast, Dennis performed something called Black Excellence, a gymnastic routine, which probably involved acrobatics and some dance moves. It's like a floor exercise, and it was an amazing routine, with a lot of sea walking and tumbling. And it had 3.1 million views on UCLA's athletics YouTube page. Now, everything else on the UCLA page gets very few views, like 1,000 views maybe. The page that Dennis produced went viral, and it's gotten 4 million views for the Pac-12's YouTube page. And her former teammate, Caitlin Ohashi, the 2019 National Championship floor routine performer, her routine on the NCAA's YouTube page had nearly 6 million views. Now, why do I mention this about the pages of the Pac-10 or 12? It's the Pac-12. Why do I mention this about their page and the NCAA page? Because they're on YouTube. And I have over 600 of my rants and animations on YouTube. But I am disqualified from receiving any money because I don't get enough views. YouTube has a view rule because they advertise things on the backs of those of us who post animations or TikToks or any form of visual thing that we have captured and we post it on YouTube. When YouTube displays it to the rest of the world, they get advertising revenue. And I'm looking at what the NCAA is doing to these poor girls, and the men too. They are prohibited because of their amateur status from receiving any money for their performances in their sport. Now, I think it's unconscionable that the NCAA could bar the athletes who have performed such great routines and millions of people enjoy watching them. And the money that they're making off of these two women and probably lots of other athletes by posting their performances is going into the pockets of the university. It's going into the pockets of the NCAA. And that to me is like stealing from kids who are going to end up with some form of debt because they went to college. Now, I'm willing to bet that Dennis and Ohashi and many of the other gymnasts are probably on some kind of athletic scholarship, and they're representing the school. Now, UCLA costs about $14,000 if you're an in-state resident for 1 year of schooling, and somewhere around $42,000 to $45,000 if you are an out-of-state student. So I don't know whether Dennis and Ohashi were in-state or out-of-state students, and they got a scholarship. But if they got, let's say they were out-of-state, and so the 4-year thing would be about $150,000, $175,000 in tuition, and they got that. But if they got a nickel a view on 6 million views, that would be $300,000. Plus all the other things that they do for the university and publicity and everything. Don't you think they deserve the money that the Pac-10 was getting off of their performances and the NCAA was getting off of their performances? Aren't they cheating these people, these children? Of course they are. And there are other terrible stories similar in nature. You know, at one point in time, I would have overlooked this. And I would have said, you got a free ride to college, and it's an expensive school, and it's a good school, so I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of you being paid as an athlete to perform. Even though the football players and the basketball players generate a lot of money for the schools, and much of that money goes into educating other students. So on the one side, I could look away from it, but this is blatant robbery. This is stealing from these talented children. And it's discriminatory because most of the stealing is on the women athletes. And so that's what I have to say about the NCAA and the unfairness that they continue to perpetrate against women athletes. And I will leave you with that thought this morning, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.